We are rolling on June 2nd, where we've been studying climate change for the last 10 weeks. And we are at UCLA, where the sunshine is shining. It's a beautiful day. And we're about to hear from the fact group. First, from Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Hey, everybody.
No paper.
So before I joined this course, I was aware of the climate events. I was aware of global warming primarily through the media. I was primarily aware of the documentary by Al Gore because when he ran for president, he became a very famous person, and by extension, his documentary eventually became well known to me. I didn't have an opinion for or against global warming. I knew that it was a political issue. I knew that it was heavily weighted in the political sphere. Typically, you have Republicans denying global warming, and typically you have Democrats claiming global warming or climate change is real. And of course you have people on both sides that go against their party line, but typically you'll see that people stick to the party line. As I got into this class, we watched the documentary, and it seemed as if, you know what, climate events and climate change is real. It was information, facts that were presented to me as an observer, and I tended to buy into those facts. But then, throughout the class, we had multiple debates that brought up information, factual information that would either support or go against what Al Gore was trying to persuade us of. And I really learned something very important that I'm hoping to take onto the rest of my academic career, which ends next week. So that is that you might have an opinion backed up by facts, but the way that you bring about your opinion and your facts almost always is going to come with a lot of precursors. So you can say, I believe that climate events caused by humans and CO2 emissions is a looming threat to our planet. But you also must come up with your facts and figures that say when it's going to happen. So, for example, Al Gore claims that with the melting of the ice caps, we will see a 20-foot rise in sea level. Well, according to scientists, that might be occurring within the next 1,000 years, but it definitely hasn't happened yet. So facts can be brought up, but they can also be cut down based on what eventually happens. So ultimately, my take from this class is that I believe that humans are causing a change in the atmosphere, but I don't agree that it is completely going to destroy our planet right away.
Thank you very much, Alex. Zach, please. Big zero for Zach. Thank you. Okay. Maya. Thank you, Maya, for bringing an outline. Go, rock and roll.
I'll start off by saying hi, I'm Maya.
Hi, Maya. Hi, Maya.
I want to thank the class for your thoughtfulness and professionalism in debating such a highly contentious topic of climate change. It's not easy to go for or against something you believe in. I think there's a lot of potential lawyers out here. And all in all, after watching several debates, after reading numerous articles from both sides, seeing crazy Al Gore, crazy climate deniers, I can say that I'm still uncertain and skeptical about the topic of climate change. And what this really comes down to is, in the beginning of the year, I put no or uncertain for pretty much all of my answers. And, I did that again now, even after seeing so much debate over it. And this is because of my criteria I use, which is my reasonable doubt. I thought even though I'm skeptical, a lot of the affirmation did a great job, and I saw that in all, we are making progress with science. We are able to even more accurately predict things. It's just a matter of, does progress equate to accuracy? So again, my beliefs have stayed consistent, and this is pretty much rooted in my skepticism of our conflict of interest with authorities and scientists in climate change. It's very easy to say, you know, this guy's from NASA, or a specialist from Harvard in climatology said that, you know, we're going to be underwater. But I think that, you know, we forget, just like climate models, which was my topic, that these people are human. They make mistakes. They have errors. And, you know, it comes down to just questioning the status quo and not believing in everything you hear, because there is a conflict of interest. There's money, lots of funding, and politicization in science. And I'm sure, you know, kind of trying to bring it home here, we've all at some point had to write a paper for a teacher, and maybe we didn't exactly express our beliefs like we would have liked to. Maybe we tailored our paper as an argument we thought our teacher would have liked us to say, or a result they would have wanted. And I think, you know, again, these people are experts and specialists, and I'm sure many of them are honest, but you just have to really look into the conflict of interest and their intentions and follow the money. So I will end with a quote from Stanley Milgram. He says, "It may be that we are puppets, puppets controlled by the strings of society, but at least we are puppets with perception, with awareness. And perhaps our awareness is the first step to our liberation." Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jeremy Daniels, please. Where's your outline?
It's in your email, I promise. I just, in the haste of printing everything else out, I forgot to print it. My bad.
Rock and roll.
Alright, cool. Yeah, just like Maya opened with, you know, thank you guys for being so cool and open to the different criticisms and the different things that have been said over the course of this class. Obviously, it's not easy to hear people stand up and criticize every word that you just spoke in a really stressful situation, but I think we all handled it like as well as it could be done. In terms of actual you know, relevance to climate change, when I first started thinking about the topic, I was pretty in favor of the idea that climate change is heavily influenced by our activity, and that's something that is very dangerous, something that we should be worried about. I think this is heavily influenced by, obviously, media and, obviously, the liberal education that we've all received growing up. I think that after taking time to really try and objectively look at the evidence, my opinion's changed a little bit. I believe that even though I debated in favor of climate models and their accuracy, I think that it's difficult to suggest, you know, that they are going to be 100% accurate. Obviously, they don't have the track record of that. I think that though we have reached a point in our technology and our understanding of our climate where we can account for a lot more of the contributing factors to our climate and therefore have a better understanding and make better predictions. But to have a fact debate about projections is a little difficult because nothing is true yet until it happens. So to say that, you know, just because a scientist says something today, we can't really say that it's going to be true for 10 years from now or you know, sub 10 years from now because we don't know yet. So it's interesting to have a fact debate about that. I think what we tried to rely on our side of the table was just that they have the capacity to do so, and they've shown an increase in strides towards the ability to do so. Even though they haven't shown a 100% ability to do so yet, I think that it's unfair to say that they're completely useless, these charts. I think that it's unfair to try and compare the corruption and research that happens with tobacco to climate research. I think that it's very, you know, separate spheres. I think that you know, on the whole, that the scientists, though you can't hold them as being 100% reputable, you know, there are going to be always bad scientists and bad researchers, but I think that on the whole, these guys are peer reviewed to the point where there is merit to what they're saying, and there is merit to the technology that they're using, and we should be, you know, using every single thing to our advantage that we can to try and make these accurate predictions about the future and try and better understand the world that we live in, so that way we can leave it a better place for future generations. So, thank you guys for listening to my spiel.
Thank you. Next will be Bez.
Hi, Bez.
Hi, Bez.
Hi, Ben.
Hi everyone. Okay.
Where's your outline?
Oh. It's rough, but what I have is also rough. Okay. So, hi everyone, my name is Bez, and over this past 10 weeks, we've together been on a journey. And right now, I'm going to take you on another journey. And this journey has 4 stops. And these are the 4 that were covered in the syllabus, and I'm going to touch on all 4 of them. Number 1 is what I've discovered. Number 2 is my reflections on my case. Number 3 is my beliefs before and after. And number 4 is what I think is to be true or false. So, going to the first stop, what I discovered. So this kind of comes into 2 different strands. The first one is what I discovered about debating and talking. The second is what I discovered about the science and the debate that we're talking about right now. So firstly, what I discovered about debating. First one, reading is bad. The second one, big gestures are great. I actually want this paper. So, big gestures are great. Number 2, that was number 2. Number 3, watching debates is also great. When you watch someone else's debate, there are so many things that come to mind which before, if you think about it, they don't usually come to mind. Number 4, sounding smart is always the way to go. Even if you don't know it, sounding smart helps. Now, going on to the science, I realize I'm running a little bit low on time. Not everything is black and white, and I split that into within a topic and also with the umbrella topic. So you can't say anything about the whole climate change topic under the umbrella term. I don't think you can say it's true or false. And also within the topics, there are also nuances that kind of get lost. As other people have said, to do with modeling, much like I'm an economist, much like economic models, they have to be taken with a pinch of salt, and there's also sensationalism. So the second step, reflecting on my case. So in my case, a big thing that I think that we should take away is the difference between global warming and climate change. Global warming is something that in the science spheres has been dropped as a term because it refers to one specific thing, and I think climate change is what we should all be referring to it as now, and there's a little bit of a clash between the two. Then I'm going to quickly. I want to talk about how facts and quotes can be used, but also often in debating they're not that useful because they're put against each other, and really you need to look at these journals in detail, and you can't do that on the debating stage. Number 3, my beliefs before and after. Before, I thought everything was mostly true, aligning with my political beliefs, but there was some uncertainty. Now I think that I kind of still think the same thing, but I think that an important thing that we have to do is unpack all the different points that come under this thing. So when you talk about climate change, this is not one thing, this is a whole range of things, and we've gone over, 10 of those debates, and there's unlimited numbers more. Now, finally, to go on to what I think is true or false, and I kind of did that. What I think is true, climate change is real. What I think is true, we can mitigate some of the things with prevention and changing our ways. What I think is false, for someone to say outright any one thing that we should do going forward. And also what I don't think is right is when people say something is going to be true in the future, because the future is just too hard to predict. Now, with that, I conclude our journey, and we've come to the stop of...
Thank you, Bez. Lauren Palgrimson. Good girl. Cows come to order, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren. As you guys all know, I had the unique opportunity to participate in 2 different debates this quarter. One was a proposition of fact and the other a proposition of value. And I have a confession to make, and that is that for many years and coming into this class, I was definitely a climate alarmist. And I think that that's just because it's kind of become a taboo in our society to go against climate change, like the Go Green movement and just general environmental advocacy that our generation is so known for, denying that climate change is real and that humans have somewhat of a play in that, just has kind of become socially stigmatized, and that's why many of us debate on the subject has kind of been chilled. So we've all seen the images of polar bears clinging to tiny little icebergs and cities that we know and love completely submerged underwater. modern-day Atlantis. And these images and rhetoric are extremely alarming and kind of cause us to think we should be taking responsibility. Now for this class, my beliefs have definitely shifted. In terms of the fact debate of whether or not human activity is responsible for global warming, came into it thinking that humans were definitely responsible for global warming and that we should be doing things to mitigate it. As I've emerged on the other side, I realized that I don't think anyone can really make a conclusive claim about this because the scientists are still like debating it. I believe that humans have had some hand in the recent warming trend, but not totally. I think that it is also probably a result of natural causes as well. In terms of the policy debate that I was involved in of whether or not politicization of science is undesirable, I still believe that it's undesirable. We've seen like all the negative effects that it can have. Something that was kind of frustrating for me in this debate is I think we kind of got away from the main topic. We started talking a lot about whether or not it would be feasible and like whether or not we could actually eliminate politics from science. I don't think feasibility is synonymous with desirability, and I think we should have focused more on like, even though it would be extremely challenging to remove politics from science, that doesn't make it undesirable. In general, I definitely think I enjoyed the value debate more. I think there's more room for like personal and like emotional appeals, which just made it more engaging for me personally. I don't know if you guys felt the same way. In summary, like obviously we need to help the polar bears and prevent our coastal regions from being completely submerged in seawater, but I think that we need to continue to debate about this and that we shouldn't just completely write off the topic like a lot of us have been trained to do.
Thank you, Lauren. Mr. Greer.
You know it. Here's my outline.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Greer, I love it.
Okay, begin. You lose the hat, please. Thank you.
Yeah, doing sweet. All right, hey, I'm Ian.
Hi, Ian.
I'd like to start off with a quote kind of based off inspiration from Bez. I don't know where he went to, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one single step. I'm gonna let that settle in, all right? And then I want to start by just outlining what I'm going to say for you, and I'm going to start with my reflections, move on to my beliefs before the resolution and after, and then I'm going to move on to what facts I deem true or false, because I'm part of the fact debate group, and we debated in my group whether scientists could use computer models to successfully predict future climate events or climate trends. And so my first reflection on our topic is that I think that there always will be an ongoing debate over this, essentially why we had this debate in the first place, and scientists are always going to try to use computer models to successfully predict future events, and it will always kind of be up to us as the audience to deem whether the messages they extrapolate from those models and what they tell us is true or false, which is why we're here in the first place. However, before the resolution, I actually thought that climate models and scientists were actually a lot better at predicting future climate events and climate trends. Due to things like An Inconvenient Truth, watching Al Gore stand up with all these models in the beginning and just show how many models had successfully, according to him obviously, he was biased, had successfully proven climate change true, I just thought since then, since it was so long ago, we would have made a lot of strides in that direction. However, after having done the debate and doing the research, I believe that scientists can use modeling to predict future climate events, much like my partner does, but I believe it at much less of a rate than I guess I thought they did initially. And then moving on, I was also surprised at the amount of meta-analyses that scientists use, like combining multiple models that could be incorrect, coming to like a correct answer and predicting future climate trends. And then finally, I want to move on to which facts I deem from my debate topic, to be true or false. And I think after it all, I think there's enough evidence that supports my partners and my contention that scientists can use computer models to successfully predict future climate events. I would deem that the fact argued by the opposition that lobbyists and government officials are often biased and pay scientific research to bias that, I would deem that invalid after our argument. However, I do think there's some merit to Alex's argument a little bit, just like where he argued with the 50% thing. So let's just finish with that. Bez, you said we went on a journey this quarter. We went on a lot of journeys. And I just want to end with whether you're a teacher trying to grade all our stuff before summer, whether you're a scientist trying to use meta-analyses to combine things to create the right prediction, or whether you're a student just trying to get all your work done. Take a step. You'll get your journey done. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Greer. C-Pan. Thank you.
Can you just give me like a minute left?
Yeah.
No, I don't have any clever
We have another presentation after this class.
That's part of your presentation.
Yeah, next class.
Oh, next time. Okay, rock and roll.
So, hi, I'm Safon.
Hi, Safon. Shh.
I did a debate where we were saying if humans were responsible, and I was on the opposition side. And I kind of talked about this in my debate, how before class I did think humans were responsible. But while researching, I thought to myself, why did I believe this? Because I hadn't done any research on it. And I said that, it was just because I was hearing it from the politicians and I just, assumed they were right. But something I also thought about while I was researching was, why isn't it enough to just say that global warming exists? Why does there have to be this nuance that humans are responsible? And the conclusion I came up with that is, if the government can say that humans cause global warming, they can also say that humans can reverse it. And that's where the green energy companies come in. And when I was researching, I found like a whole bulk of evidence how green energy has become this big business. So that's when I started to distrust the government side and the side that humans were responsible. As of now, I'm not 100% sure which side is right, but I'm leaning towards a side that humans aren't responsible because in my debate when I was talking about the 97% consensus, talking about how it's wrong, how it's been fudged and stuff, I started to think to myself like, if you're a politician, if you're a scientist, and you really knew that you were right about humans being responsible, why would you feel the need to fudge the numbers? Why would you feel the need to do all this like deceptive, manipulative stuff on the side? Because if you were really right, you would just be like, here's my proof, see ya. But none of that is happening. And on the subject of trusting the politicians, something that I heard before this class, was when Al Gore, like Bill Nye would say something like, the consensus on climate change is just as clear as it is on gravity, which is ridiculous because we've had how many debates and we still don't know. But kind of makes me think that, what makes me upset about that is not that it's wrong, it's just that before this class, I believed that too. I believed when he said that the consensus is just as clear, I took that as truth. I trusted him. So I'm kind of glad that Professor Miller had us go over climate change because even before this class, I was skeptical about the government, but climate change was kind of like the exception that when it comes to climate change, they're working in our best interest. But researching into it a bit more, I found that, no, it's kind of consistent with the rest of government. So, yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you very much. 226. Thank you. Okay, next is He Sung Song. Okay.
Hi, my name is Sing.
Hi, Sing.
Hi. The topic I debated on this quarter was hurricanes and other extreme events are the immediate consequence of global warming. And the thing I discovered through this debate was I thought it was a really interesting debate that had potentials for both sides. So I thought it was really meaningful in the sense that we were able to pick one side and research and develop those skills and be able to further, extend like what the common perception of what global warming is and how it affects different extreme events. In terms of the reflection that I had towards the debate, at the beginning, to be honest, I picked this topic because I thought it would be an easier debate topic to choose. But the more I got to debate about it, because it was so common, there were such good arguments on both sides of the debate that it actually created an interesting research topic. So at the end of the day, I was able to, read about my arguments as well as their arguments and really go in depth into the different kinds of arguments that people make. In terms of the debate itself, I thought we did a really great job in terms of explaining what kind of anthropogenic thoughts and how that influences global warming and the status quo. But the one frustrating part about our debate, I think all debaters, we could have agreed on the definition. And rather than spending too much time on what global warming is and what influences global warming, I think we could have all kind of move on from that and had a better articulation of the impacts of what the global warming is. Prior to the debate, I was on the same side of the debate. I agreed that hurricanes and other extreme events were because of global warming, but I really didn't know the reason why. But through this debate, I was able to research about the internal links and the links of how global warming really causes these impacts to occur and how these impacts are interrelated at the end of the round. And I think overall, I think the fact that we really established was that global warming do create these kinds of impacts at the end of the day, and I think global warming do create an increase in temperature, which causes these impacts to be interrelated. Overall, I thought I had a really great experience and opportunity to debate this topic, and I want to say thank you to Bez and Yang because they were really great opponents, because they were really respectful and they were really cooperative of all this stuff that happened prior to debate. And I want to say thank you to Kayla. She was a wonderful partner and a leader. She had a lot of time planning, but still she was really forgiving of me because I had to change up schedule. But I thought she was a really great partner and a great leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaking of great leaders, are all three leaders here?
Yes.
Could you stand up for a moment? I thought we had fabulous leaders, and we need to thank them. Absolutely. Really fine job. And I know there were some difficult circumstances to overcome. Okay, let's hear from CVAC.
Hi, my name is Sam.
Hi, Sam.
For this group individual report, I not only reflected on my proposition, but everyone's. So the proposition in question that I debated was whether humans are the primary cause of global warming. I was on the government side. The first reflection I will take from this class is global warming is a serious issue. Whether global warming is the cause of is caused by the sun, whether computer models cannot accurately predict climate change, or even if the economy is more important than the environment, global warming is still a serious problem. The second reflection I made is the government or the private sector should be more responsible when dealing with the environment. This ranges from oil spillages in the ocean to all the way to Hiroshima. All of these basic and primitive mistakes affect the environment and everyone living in it. Now, if that means we will have to wait a year longer for energy, so be it. For some reason, I've always thought smart people don't make mistakes. But during my research, I did find that the fracking initiative that President Obama embarked on had a huge one. By all means, he did it for job creation, but huge amounts of methane did cause not only him, but his administration to have doubts. Lastly, and most optimistically, one consequence of global warming I find to be a good one. This isn't an issue I have to think about alone, nor is it yours. This problem neither has race as a preference nor ethnicity. This issue ranges from individuals living in the Middle East to people living in the West. This ranges from individuals living in the highest classes all the way down to hardworking individuals trying to get food on the table. It ranges from Arabic-speaking humans to Chinese or French-speaking people. It ranges from individuals believing in a particular god all the way to people believing in scientific truth. Global warming is impacting all of us. Well, what's good about this problem if it's this big? I believe that global warming is a problem we are solving and will resolve quickly. But I also believe that a common enemy also brings people together. And that's my reflection. Thanks.
What was the time? 2:27.
10 seconds late.
Okay.
Alright.
Yang.
Yeah.
Hi, Yang.
I'm Yang. So I'll start by telling you guys how I went about my
Order in the house, please.
Okay. So I will start by telling you guys how I went about my own case, and I'll end by telling you guys what I learned this quarter. So from the start, I actually thought it was an over-exaggeration to say that extreme climate events were imminent consequences of global warming. However, I got a phone call from my debate partner, Fats, and he told me he emailed a UCLA professor who was doing studies on this matter, and he replied him saying, yeah, I'm glad you guys are doing this debate, and he emailed a pile of evidence that would support our proposition side, but I'm on the opposition side. And then the professor also said, it is very difficult for you guys to try to find any evidence that would support the opposition side, which is global warming isn't caused. Global warming does not cause imminent climate change, imminent climate events. So feeling doomed, I went on finding my own searches. So what I found was that in this recipe of making up a hurricane or a storm, there are many ingredients, and one of the main ingredients was high temperature. So if you have high temperature, theoretically speaking, you will get a more intense storm. But also based on theories and models together, and those models are based on statistics, scientists think that higher temperature, like global warming, will lead to less number of hurricanes, but more intense hurricanes. So it is very uncertain how together they will make a difference. So I didn't find much counter evidence for sea level rise or droughts, but I would not think that that would mean that global warming would cause imminent sea level rise or droughts, because there are just too many factors out there, and it's really difficult to see any one of the factors would lead to the whole thing. Two important things I learned this quarter, both in this course and in my other classes, is that we should be cautious about statistics, and also confirmation bias will play a role in making a lot of the claims. About stats, so I myself have run like 2 experiments in my 2 lab courses this quarter, and we dealt with stats a lot of time, and I know there are all kinds of ways that you could mess up with your raw data. So yeah, basically just be cautious, and that's all.
Thank you very much, Yang. And for the closing remarks, our erstwhile chair, Kayla.
Hi everyone, I'm Kayla.
Hi, Kayla.
So I just wanted to start you guys off with a little quote from Andy Roney, who said, "People will generally accept facts as truth only if the facts agree with what they already believe." Now, when I heard that quote, I immediately thought of David, who said that every opposition debate that we have, he's going to side on the opposition side just because of what he strongly believes. No, when I think about the week 1 and we took all that poll, we took everything, that the whole class agreed that global warming is a huge issue, and granted that only one proposition debate, Ian and Jeremy, Maya and Alex, they were able to win, says that clearly you guys accepted facts that were not what you claimed to believe. So now I'm a fact person. I know I've always have been, which is why I wanted to be the fact leader. I love the fact that you can state something, find evidence to support it, and then state your stance further. And as we saw, every single day, whether fact, value, or policy, incorporated facts within it. So clearly it's a big issue. So coming into class, I had taken multiple atmospheric and oceanic sciences, and I had been exposed to this enormous amount of facts and statistics and graphs that support global warming, but I was aware of how carbon emissions were having a negative consequence on everything, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I was a little biased, because I was such a strong believer in global warming coming in. However, my time as the fact group leader, I was able to see the briefs of both opposition and proposition, and all the evidence that came to support it. And I realized that, for example, when Safon and Zach had their debate, the sunspot argument really got me thinking about, okay, well, are humans really accountable for all the warming that's occurring, or the lag between the carbon dioxide and temperature? Are scientists really studying the right factors here? So when I reflect upon my debate, I realized that the opposition had some convincing arguments regarding the accuracy of climate models. And not only did it set a reasonable doubt within the audience, which kind of hurt our proposition side, but it kind of set a reasonable doubt within me. You know, when I think of science, I think of observation and experiment. I realized that I put all my trust into these scientists to give me accurate data. So having debated a fact resolution, if you were to ask me, you know, do I believe in global warming? I would say yes, even after the debates. I think it's a huge issue. I think we need to tackle it head on. But do you think humans are a huge contributing factor? I would have to say yes as well. But if you were to say, do you believe that scientists have accurately predicting the future warming trends before the class? I would say, oh yeah, of course, scientists know what they're doing. But after the class, I'd have to say no. So the debates have revealed to me that bias and potential government pressure can somewhat formulate hard-found facts into something that reveals what they want. I discovered that I myself was finding these facts that I was so adamantly strongly about because of what I believed coming into this class. So I do think we need to look into renewable sources of energy and utilize more earth-friendly resources. But do I think it's as serious as scientists are claiming? No. And thanks to this class, I've been able to discover fallacies in my view of global warming, which in turn will hopefully allow me to strengthen my opinion regarding it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kayla. Okay, it's now time for the value group to line up in the following order.
Can I get the Simon sheet again? Sorry, she forgot to sign it.
Simon?
Yes.
Yasmine, Caitlin, Jimmy, Aaron, Carmen, Austin, Susanna, Julia, no, you're last, Casey, Lana, and Olivia.
Has anyone not done the quiz survey thing?
No, where are you going?
Are we going with the order you called?
Yeah. Yasmine, go line up on the wall. Caitlin, Jimmy, Aaron, Carmen. Yeah, well, when you speak,
did everyone
Austin.
Did everyone turn in their quiz?
Susanna, Julia, last, Casey, Lana, Olivia. Don't call me Lana.
This is your copy. I'll see it for you.
Of what?
Outline. Did you not need one?
Are you first?
Yasmine, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, can we turn the baby?
Okay, can I turn the baby? Just seeing the legs. Face up and then there you go. Yeah.
No, it's less creepy now.
That's good.
No, wait, not like that. Oh, God.
All right, we're rolling. Okay, we're about to hear the report of the value group on their individual reflections, starting with Yasmine.
Hi.
Yasmine.
Okay, am I good to go?
You're good to go.
Okay, alright, so basically, don't want to cut myself short.
Good to go.
Okay, so basically coming into this class, I've just really had very little knowledge about global warming in general. You know, starting from middle school, you're put in a class where they showed you the movies like The Inconvenient Truth and stuff like that. And you basically were so scared that you heard all the horror stories and, you know, in 50 years we're all going to die, like all this stuff. And then you hear like, oh, I'm not even going to have kids because in 50 years my kids are going to die anyways because of global warming and all this stuff. So basically, unfortunately, when I hear things like that, I'm the type of person that really turns the other cheek, which is a very negative thing. I kind of think ignorance is bliss in a way, which is actually a very ignorant way of thinking. Enrolling in this class, I was instantly immersed into the topic of climate change. And there was no way for me to be able to turn the other cheek because the professor gave us readings, made us watch films, and even made us debate on the topic. So, yes, and my stance as someone who did a value presentation, I was really it was a very sentimental thing. Like you kind of have to, you know, you debate on that people are losing their homes or losing their families. Even you might lose your home or your family or something like that. So that was like the hardest part for me because that's the whole reason why I would even turn the other cheek in the first place. Overall, I have a very positive reflection on my case. It forced me to be able to educate myself about the topics and the effects of my daily life because I took the opposition side. I was also taught to be skeptical and question my evidence and the information that's always thrown my way. I myself was part of the 69% that believed in global warming, and I still do, but I don't look at it as so black and white anymore. My beliefs before and after. Before this class, like I said, I don't want to believe in global warming, whether I just didn't want to believe in it, but in the back of my head, I always knew it did. Before the debate, because I never gave a preference to Julia about what I wanted, I was forced to do an opposition side, and I was very scared because I basically had to prove to you guys that global warming wasn't catastrophic when I didn't necessarily believe that myself. And I also had to face my fears and, you know, basically tell you guys that all those stories that you heard in 7th grade that we're going to die tomorrow isn't true. So I got to learn that I don't have to believe all the stories through the opposition side. I got to learn to question my information and my evidence that that was supposed to back it up. And I got to, sorry, hold on. Yeah, that's it. And then after the debate, I still believe in global warming. My values I hold now, I do believe that it's catastrophic, but to a certain extent. However, I do, as I was doing research, I found out a lot of valid information that proved it otherwise. I believe, overall, I still think that we should choose to be environmentally friendly, but to a certain extent, I don't think that we should be the doomsdayers to say that everything is just going to end tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmine. Okay. Next, we'll hear from Caitlin.
Hello.
Hi, Caitlin.
This is his outline.
Oh, okay.
Caitlin. Hey. Ready? Okay. So the truth is, before this class, I wasn't super interested in the topic of global warming. I obviously was aware that climate change is a really controversial issue.
Do I have your outline?
Let's start that over.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, anyways. So, obviously I was aware that it's a really controversial issue, but I never took the time to research all the various topics that were debated in class, and I was actually really shocked to see how many aspects of our climate change are being argued about in the world. When I received the topic for my debate, and yes, I received it because I also didn't respond to Julia in time, I was a bit intimidated because I felt like it was a lose-lose for me because, one, I personally wasn't fully convinced that global warming is not catastrophic, and I was also aware, according to the survey, that majority of you guys didn't believe that either. But in the end, I'm happy with my decision to be placed in the value group because I was able to gain a greater understanding of how global warming affects the well-being of the people, both positively and negatively, and that's something that's very important to me, as I'm sure it is to all of you guys. Before my debate, I took the stance on the propositional side, and I felt that global warming was somewhat of a catastrophic phenomenon because a lot of scientific reports, and as Yasmine said, what we've grown up kind of being told, and a sort of fear has been instilled in us that the world is going to end, and this is a topic that needs to be addressed immediately. And after doing research on the oppositional side, I changed my mind. Clearly, some of the grandiose claims were obviously false because I'm still standing here right now. And the information I found refuting the points of the propositional side was more reasonable in my opinion, like things like the hockey stick effect, some of the evidence supporting the change in weather patterns that are actually not abnormal, and past research, forget what I'm just trying to say. what am I trying to say? Hold on.
Weather patterns are not abnormal.
And just a couple, like, looking at past records, whatever. By no means do I believe global warming is a myth, but, and it's not happening. However, I don't believe the world is going to end anytime soon. I wouldn't say I'm a full denialist or alarmist. I believe it's just unnecessary to install such fear into the public, generating like a panic over the issue. There is evidence demonstrating positive effects of global warming. To me, catastrophic event is solely negative aspects. I value the well-being of people, and I think we should most definitely be aware of the change of the problems that climate change is causing, but I don't think we should say that climate change is causing the next person's heart attack. Thanks.
Good job.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Slide this through real quick.
Thank you.
It's kind of distracting.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even see that then. Sorry, just pass it to me.
Okay, let's begin.
Coming into this debate definitely was kind of my weakness, I would say, because I've always personally been. That's very rude. I've always been like a policy or fact-based kind of person because I've always based all my assumptions on that facts. Facts are what's you can't really change facts, but sure you can manipulate them to your favor. But facts and policies are always been my forte. So when I got assigned value, I was actually kind of scared because value is something that I believe you can change in a moment's notice. If you go on an advertisement, you hear about commercial, you can just change your personal values based. Well, I may need that. So value for me was a really tough topic to debate in. So that's why I actually was kind of afraid at first. But overall, I feel like learning from this experience, it definitely humbled me a lot. Personally, I kind of have ADHD, so like what happens when you have ADHD is that when I'm nervous, I talk really fast because I'm thinking about like 10, 20 different things at the same time. And I just fail to engage the audience. And that's actually, I read that in psychology, that's actually like an ego thing, where like you think everything, the whole world is centered around you. So after the debate, I rewatched my YouTube video, and I realized all the things I did wrong. It was kind of embarrassing, because I know everyone, like, if you try to hear your own voice, it's really, it's almost like chalk on the blackboard. It's really embarrassing for me. Yeah. So I actually did look up to my YouTube video, and for my other classes, which is my future, my career, whether it's in business, finance, or startups, I'm going to have to like pitch something or show a presentation in front of a lot older people with a lot of money. So whether we're not like, the context of debate does not matter. So focus on that improvement was one of the biggest things I believe I should work on. And having this debate experience really humbled me a lot. So on the basis of the actual topic of the debate, my opinion is actually on the opposite side. I actually remember talking to Julia that I'm not necessarily against global warming or I think that's real, even after hearing everyone's debate. I think it's really real, but on the basis of economics, there's definitely some things that developed country can't do or cannot do. So actually by like doing more research on the proposition side, I actually like sided with a side I do not expect myself to side with, and that was a really cool experience because I definitely learned a lot more because I have actually bias for the other side, which I don't know like a lot of people have. And going off of that, I truly believe that if we increase the audience size, or if I were to redo again, I could definitely do a better performance. Because now I know the weakness in my debate, and I personally believe that the weakness in my debate did not come from the fact or value basis, but actually come from debate preparation basis, where I could easily improve just by looking in the mirror, or talking to myself, or working on more. And based off that, I'm really grateful for this experience and this class, and thank you very much.
For the time, well, Aaron's going forward. I would all like you to at least reflect in your mind the difference between an attitude, a belief, and a value. Okay, if that's not clear in your mind, look it up or think about it.
Hey guys, my name's Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
We've been talking about the theme of journey, right? There's a couple people that mentioned it already. And if you journey back with me to week 1 where we watched Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. And then fast forward to week 3, we watched the Great Global Warming Swindle, right? I wish I could tell you an elaborate reason behind why I chose the proposition for this debate, but the truth is the only real reason is because Julia asked our value debate group to make our final decision by Wednesday night of week 3. And at that point, my only real source for this topic was the Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth. And after already choosing the proposition side, we watched the Great Global Warming Swindle the next day, and I was sitting in class thinking, man, I don't even know if global warming exists or not. And at that point, I was stuck with my topic, unsure if I really believed even what I chose, and being unsure of my own personal stance, I had to either fake it until I could make it throughout my debate, or I could choose to cram my head with just one-sided research from the proposition side until I am forced to believe the proposition side. And I went with the latter. And it was actually our fellow classmate Austin, great name by the way, and his feedback after the debate that helped me formulate my final conclusion. He mentioned that the priority of the value depends on the particular country's economy, meaning countries like the US that are developed would have to focus on environmental concern, while developing countries such as African countries would have to focus on economic growth. So now obviously the issue at hand is much more complex than just a simple blanket statement that would resolve an issue like this. But at its core, I believe arguments from both sides seem to hinge on these two variables. That being said, this is a debate class, and a middle ground conclusion wouldn't be satisfactory. So my final conclusion is that I sided with the proposition that environmental concern is more important than economic growth. And it came down to the fact that money will always be a deciding factor in life in general. And as we see in developed countries, even right now, like US, they still don't prioritize environmental concern over economic growth. And so it's hard for me to believe that developing countries would follow this, would be any different at the point when they're developed. So from the beginning, I went from being a blind sheep after watching The Inconvenient Truth to having an internal conflict after watching the Great Warming Swindle, to forcing myself to believe the proposition that I chose as I prepared for my debate, to finally choosing my final but flimsy stance to be for the proposition. That's a lot of ups and downs for just to have this insecure conclusion. But all this to say that this topic of climate change is a constant, ongoing push and pull, and we might not see the end of it, but who knows when the scale will be tipped to one side or the other. But until then, the debating will have to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, next is Carmen. Hi, Carmen.
Hi. Hi, Carmen. Okay. So hi, I'm Carmen.
Hi, Carmen.
Initially, at the beginning of the whole class, I thought global warming exists, and I still do think that, but on a lesser level. I've always been taught from a young age that our world is coming to an end because global warming, and there's all these side effects. But this class helped me kind of figure out what was true and what was not, and really think about it even more. I was part of the government side in the third value debate, which was the politicization of science is undesirable. And I thought it was a good experience doing this debate because it really helped me build on building arguments and really working on the steps of argumentation and refutation. So I initially believed that, yeah, politicization of science is undesirable because people or lobbyists would just take evidence and skew it to make people think that, or make the public think that everything is good and the science shows that. But once I debated with the other team, it really got me thinking, oh, there are benefits to having science that is politicized, and there are benefits that come out of that. The other side brought up really good points that I didn't think about before, and I liked how they brought up about the role of institution and how that can play in helping clarify issues and the benefits that come out of it. So in the process of preparing for the debate, I learned that it's very important to establish the definition, especially when maybe like one side might not understand what the definition is or what the resolution is, there really isn't argument or clash. Because if both sides are not on the same page, then yeah, essentially no argument. I learned that it's good to create an outline on the whole side's arguments and then work from there as a team with your partner. Because if one partner is researching her idea but it doesn't really work with your argument or your brief, then it looks bad and it's really unconvincing. Cross-examination and refutations are also important in convincing the audience that your side is better and that your evidence is better. So in reflection, I do believe that global warming does exist, but not so much now. I definitely do think that some people are exaggerating, some things are exaggerated, but on a whole, I still think global warming exists. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Next we will hear from Austin. Great name.
Thank you. I hope that was
Okay, rock and roll.
Alrighty. Hi everyone. My name's Austin and I have a pretty great name. So I'd like to start this by just saying that I spilled some food on my shirt earlier, so I apologize if that offends anyone. I don't think it does, but so my debate was on the politicization of science. And when I grow up in a year, I want to be a scientist. So this was kind of a really important topic to me. My original opinion coming in, I'm kind of more reserved usually with my opinions, but here, no, not the case. I was really against the politicization of science. And the reason I chose to side with the opposition is because I kind of wanted to see how well-founded that belief was. And it turns out that it wasn't as well-founded as it maybe could have been. So my understanding of science is that it is a rigorous and refined method of learning about the world around us. So how could political organizations with little scientific training come in and tell us what the best science is? I just didn't really understand it. But after researching it, I found that politics can be critical to the advancement of society in some areas of research. This is especially true with golden rice, things like that, and with vaccinations, and with getting to the moon. Although politicization draws attention in funding to really important research efforts, it's not always great. It can be beneficial, but ultimately political institutions with agendas can pump in so many resources into funding science that it just creates these huge reserves, and it's difficult to tell where the science lies, where the evidence is strong and where it's thin. And on top of that, it doesn't seem like there's any sources who are being objective about the analysis of the data. Everyone kind of seems to have a side. So really, I think the worst thing about the politicization, science being politicized, is that it creates a false dichotomy. It presents only two sides, and there's no room for being kind of in the middle and addressing where the strengths and weaknesses are of each position. So that's kind of a bad thing. Let's see here. Another thing I've really come to value through my research is the value of science communicators, people who are good about educating the public about scientific issues. A lot of times people who try to communicate science ideas aren't always trained, and that can be really detrimental. Just through my research, I found this guy on Facebook. If you guys want to check him out, he's a science communicator called The Credible Hulk. He just kind of introduced me to the topic of legitimate science through peer-reviewed studies and stuff. So I think that that was a good thing. So kind of in conclusion, I'm super on the fence about the politicization of science. It definitely has good things, but there are also certainly bad things. I think really what matters is that science remains objective, because if it doesn't remain objective, then we can't continue to rely on it for our policies. And either way, whether or not we think it's good or bad, it's going to be there. Policy is always going to have its fingers in science, kind of moving it around a little bit like a puppet. Now, I think that that's not always a bad thing. This can be taken care of through a system of checks and balances. In the words of Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Next is Susanna, followed by Casey.
Hi, Susanna. Hi.
Hi, Susanna.
Hi, guys. My name is Susanna.
Hi, Susanna.
To be honest, hi, Professor. Before coming to this class, to be honest with you, I never really had any knowledge about global warming, and I was very ignorant. Yasmine, my roommate, actually convinced me to take this class. I had to drop a different class and kind of educate myself on global warming. And I didn't enjoy this class until we watched the documentary, The Great Global Warming Swindle. And watching you guys debate about a topic that you're passionate about or you're just assigned to also taught me a lot, and thank you for that. I was placed in the value group, and I was actually very excited to be in the value group since I thought it'd be easier to kind of talk about something that you value and something you're passionate about. So when Julia sent the 3 topics in the group me, without even looking at the other 2, I saw global warming on balance is catastrophic, and I was like, that's definitely what I want to argue for, propose the fact that global warming is catastrophic. And I texted right there and then that this is what I want to do without even thinking that. I was like, how can someone oppose the fact that global warming is catastrophic? A few days passed and I saw in GroupMe that my roommates are opposing me, and I thought this is going to be interesting since we always talk about things that we agree or don't agree at home. So I thought it's going to be very interesting to be arguing against them. As I was doing my research, I came across to The Skeptical Environmentalist by Lomborg, and as I was reading, I actually was nervous to provide you my case and to prove you guys that global warming is catastrophic. So before the debate, I was sure that global warming is catastrophic. Of course, sea levels are rising. Of course, the heat waves cause injuries at workplace. So I thought, obviously, it's going to be catastrophic. So as I read the Lomborg's Skeptical Environmentalist, I was nervous to present you guys the case, and I didn't know that I'll be able to convince you guys. Even though I was the governing leader and my side won, after the debate and after doing my 3 contentions and also listening to the opposing side, I do not agree that global warming is catastrophic. Yes, there are events that are absolutely horrible. Yes, there are events that are happening and global warming is bad, it's happening, climate change is happening, but I do not think that it is catastrophic. 69% of the class believes that global warming is catastrophic. And unfortunately, I was not here to take the survey in the beginning of the class since I joined you during week 2. But if I was, I would have definitely also agreed that global warming is catastrophic. But now, after my debate, after listening to the opposing contentions, and after having Olivia being a great partner, thank you for that, I do not think that global warming is catastrophic. Also, I'd like to thank Austin, Elizabeth, who's not here, and Julia, and my opposing side for the great debate and for the great knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Susanna. Next we will hear from Casey. Casey Abad. Hi, Casey. What?
So, yeah, I'll head after this.
Okay.
Yeah, don't you think? Yeah, I'll go after this speech.
Yeah.
Could you refresh me on the signal? This is 1 minute?
Just slap for 1 minute, slap at the second minute, then 30 seconds, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And then you have 15 seconds, 6 for time.
Should I start?
Sure.
Hi guys, I'm Casey.
Hi, Casey.
For the start of my, talk here, I'm gonna take us back again, as some of you have also done, to the first week. And I want to talk about the opinion poll that we did. For me, I barely regarded this this opinion poll when first taking it. As soon as I saw that, agree on the left side there meant that you were in agreement with the urgency of environmental policies, I was pretty quick to check all the way down, kind of like you would for those agreements, terms of agreements for your iPhone update. It was a pretty easy decision for me. Now, come week 3, when we saw the counter to Al Gore's The Inconvenient Truth, I found that, maybe I wasn't as correct as, or shouldn't have been as sure as I was. And once I became aware of this bias, I thought, I should change this. So when I saw the topic that I received, which was environmental concerns are more important than economic development, or should be, I thought, hey, this is a topic that I can really
take a look at on both sides evenly, without bias. I thought, in favor of it on the proposition, it's really important to support environmental concerns, especially given the fact that global warming is a trend that policy will not be able to affect until many years later. And on the other hand, I knew that developed nations could certainly deal with economic, who had attained the economic growth, could deal with the environmental policies, and had a responsibility to do so. So as I researched, this opinion actually became a little bit more polarized. Of course, on the position that I took for the opposition. I found pretty insane facts like several prominent nations such as Germany, Canada, and Australia that had failed in their policies. And I soon came to the opinion that really, this is a no-brainer. I was right. So fast forward to the end of the debate, with Julia, kicking Jimmy in the butt. Whoa. I really felt that we won in a landslide. Whoa. But the results didn't reflect that. They were much closer than I thought. And I did some introspection, and I realized I made the same mistake as before. I had entered into another bias. And thankfully, because I did my debate early on, I was able to view the rest of the debates with a more balanced perception. And I gained a lot more from it. When we did that last poll just now, I found myself circling the uncertain option. Maybe as much so as I did agree before, which has its issues in its own right. But I felt like I could consider it with more balance. So I thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Casey? What? What? Okay, head cut off. Okay. Jimmy, no, I'll have Kai do it. Can you time?
I tallied them for Jimmy on the front page.
Has everyone turned in the survey?
Yeah.
Wait, so when you clap?
So you clap after 1 minute, you clap at the second minute,
2 minutes, and then
3 minutes,
1 more survey.
Or Elizabeth can do
1 more survey?
Elizabeth can time.
Survey.
Shit, okay. Did you sign in then?
Yeah. Let's come in. He's got to go to the thing.
Alright, you gotta add this one, but I tallied them up already.
So next is Lana. Don't call me Lana. Lana.
I'll go right now.
Alright.
Hi everyone. So I'm a pretty opinionated person. I'm not typically easily swayed out of my opinion. I'm the first to admit it may take even more than a preponderance of evidence to convince me that I'm wrong and to get me to admit something. Basically, I'm a pain in the ass. When I entered this class, I was fresh out of a class on climate change here at UCLA. Basically, all that class did was provide me with scientific backing to support an opinion that I already held, which is that climate change is anthropogenic and detrimental, basically. I was fully persuaded by the Green Movement and by people like Al Gore of this, that led me to that opinion. And I actually thought that going into this class, climate change was maybe selected as the topic because it was such an irrefutable subject that maybe I thought like part of the class was that whoever was unlucky enough to be selected as the opposition had like the kind of fun, like creative thing where they had to make up a reason. Like it didn't even occur to me that there was an opposing side to global warming, and I legitimately believed that. But one of the things we were first taught in this class is to think critically, and in the first 2 films that we watched, or I guess only 2 films we watched, it was shown that evidence can really be created and manipulated to support almost any claim. So you can't, I learned that you really can't just accept science or anything blindly. You have to be skeptical and smart about it. And this class really opened my eyes to the multifaceted nature of the subject and showed me sides and opinions that I probably otherwise would never really seriously considered. And I ultimately learned just as much about the subject of climate change as I did about debate and argumentation and communications, which I really appreciated. At the end of this class here, I still do believe that humans are
and have been responsible for a lot of environmental damage, and I do think that there's a strong need for policy change and lifestyle change in order to prevent us as a human race from continuing to make these, I guess, or to have these effects on the environment. But I'm now interested in looking more into the extent of these damages that we've supposedly caused and into the irreversibility of them. I've learned to adhere to my values, but also to be open to new information and to be open-minded and not as stubborn as I sometimes am. And I was also definitely caught up in the politicization of the topic of climate change, which you may recall I debated last week. It was not harmful, but I'm questioning that. This class has really opened my eyes up to the complexities and the realities of the society that we live in, which is so full of this surplus of information and general media noise above which it's kind of hard to hear truth a lot of the time. And so going forward, I challenge myself, and I hope that many of you do as well, to make informed decisions rather than convenient ones. And I am hoping to stay more open-minded, and I thank this class for humbling the smartass in me.
Thank you, Lana. Olivia Newton-John. Hi, Olivia.
Okay. Hi, my name is Olivia.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi. So as many of you may remember, I was tasked with debating whether the effects of climate change or global warming on balance are catastrophic. So when I went into this assignment, I chose my topic and I thought it was going to be a piece of cake because I'd taken AP Environmental Science in high school and I was like, that's all the information I need to know, I'm convinced it's real, whatever, I'm going to get an A+, it's going to be great. But when I started researching, I found that that wasn't really the case, and a lot of the information is outdated, and a lot of the information you think is going to be there really isn't. When I was looking like, oh, catastrophic effect of global warming, I wasn't finding a million articles, I was finding really like very few articles. So the definition of a catastrophe, according to Merriam-Webster, is that it's a catastrophe is an event that causes great and often sudden damage or suffering. So the key word here is sudden. And so I believe that global warming is happening and its projected effects are definitely severe. But I don't think we're going to wake up tomorrow and see Los Angeles, half of Los Angeles infected with dengue fever and the United States like covered with water. It's not going to happen that fast. It's not that sudden. So I found also that a lot of the information that I was looking into was based off of predictions. And predictions are kind of, in their definition, not sudden, because if you're able to predict that something's going to happen in 10 years, well, that might be really fast in the scheme of the history of the Earth. It's not very fast in the scheme of looking at a human's life. We only live to be like, 80, 90 years old, so 10 years is a big chunk of your life. So beyond my own research, I found that something else that shifted my opinion was Caitlin's response to one of my questions during cross-examination. So my question to her was asking her whether she believed that people losing their homes was catastrophic. And she answered saying that something like, well, I would like to think that losing my home is catastrophic. In the scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal, like compared to the billions of people who live on the Earth. So yeah, well, global warming is predicted to result in 240,000 deaths within the next 15 years. 1.3 million people die every year in car accidents. So I think that that's something to pay attention to when you're looking at the scheme of how these things actually affect you and how they'll affect the entire world. So if I were to argue again whether the effects of global warming on balance are catastrophic, I would have to side with the opposition. I think that there has been a shift in my opinion, and yeah, I think global warming is bad, but is it catastrophic? Well, catastrophic would be something that happened in Chernobyl, but not necessarily something that's happening with global warming. So yeah, I want to thank this class for giving me a better opportunity to understand the topic, and yeah.
Thank you, Olivia. And to pinch hit and to hit the home run and to do the cleanup of the whole mess of the value proposition is Julia. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Julia. Hi, Julia.
Hi.
Bye, Julia.
Bye.
Aloha.
Hi, my name's Julia, and I'm the leader of the Valley Group. I'll be talking about 3 things. 1, the idea of adherence. 2, Jimmy, because I know you guys like hearing these stories, and if anything, I like giving the people what they want. And then number 3, my final thoughts on this class. So one of the most important things I learned in this class is the concept of adherence and appropriate decision makers, where the main point of argumentation is not how well you argue, but rather how well does the people who vote on you respond to your argument. And I'd like to thank you guys for granting your adherence to me by voting for my side. And in this case, the appropriate decision makers would have been you guys, and I suppose the professor, if he chooses to pass me or fail me. In my case, debating on whether environmental concerns were more important than economic concerns, I was on the opposition side, meaning that I believed that economic concerns were more important than environmental concerns. In retrospect, I thought I did well in my cross-examination with Jimmy, where, if you remember, I showed that the article he used to prove that solar panels are a good thing actually said solar panels are a bad thing, listed all the reasons why they were bad for the ecosystem, and then concluded to say, no, I don't recommend solar panels. And I think that when I exposed that discrepancy, it really hurt Jimmy's credibility. And the fact that so many people said that in your responses, that that was something that swayed them over to their side, meant it was a good tactic. And it really hammered home the point that you should always check your sources and always make sure that everything you use in your brief actually supports your brief. I used a lot of pathos and storytelling, which I've noticed resonates really well with the audience. Even when we're given criteria, we still use our own criteria for judging these debates. We use our decisions on criteria such as speaking style, charisma, storytelling ability, or cost-benefit analysis. There's really no right or wrong criteria. Rather, whatever your audience's criteria is at the moment is the right one if they're the ones who are voting for you. So winning a debate means figuring out what your audience likes and then tailoring your speech to match as many of their criteria as you can. I still believe that before and after my debate, economic concerns are more important than environmental concerns, and mainly because of the environmental Kuznets curve, which says that at a certain point of a country's economy, it grows to a point where it actually has enough money to afford to be able to be green. We see this in the case of America, where Industrial Revolution, we gave off a lot of pollutants, but now we're in the 21st century, we're rich enough as a global superpower to be able to be more green. And I suggest that other more developing countries like Africa and India will be able to do the same thing once they reach that certain peak. In terms of global warming, I entered this class with a strong belief that global warming is happening and imminent and will result in disaster. However, given the evidence from the debates, I have such reasonable doubt about this subject now. I don't think global warming is catastrophic, and I support the politicization of science. I've taken classes at UCLA that deal with climate change, and I do trust authority figures like my professors from the atmospheric departments where they say beyond a doubt carbon is caused by humans. However, scientific claims can be, and have shown to be in the past, manipulated by money, influence, and politics, fit both sides of the argument, and I leave this class with a better understanding of argumentation, but a greater doubt and uncertainty on global warming, and a healthy amount of respect for how rhetoric and style have such a profound effect on my beliefs. Thank you.
Well put. Thank you, Julia. Good summary. Okay. It's now time for the policy group to give us their thoughts. The speaking order will be Bianca, Kai, Alexia, David, Elizabeth, Daniel, Wyatt, Robin, Victor, and Rana.
Am I stopping after 1 minute so they know?
Yeah, 1 minute, and a slap after 2 minutes.
Just like sports.
And then
Yeah, I like
3 minutes. I forget what he did. Slap again, and then he gives them a slap.
Can I just do signposts and stuff?
Yeah, that's fine. That's Ellen.
Julia likes sports.
Yeah, I like
She lifts
slap on the
weights so
bus.
she can be better. I'm a really good spotter. Way better spotter than Evelyn.
Okay.
Instead of hitting the table, which is distracting, I'm just going to do like time signals. So if a minute has passed, I'm going to do 2, 1, and then 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Hang on just a moment. I gotta change the battery. I won't make it through the group.
I finished the survey results, by the way. So I'm
What?
going to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Really?
Good, yeah, okay. Did we not collect them for journal entries?
Everyone's turned in their diary, right?